Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you may be. Hello, everybody. My name is Anthony Ray, one of the attorneys here at Ray Law International, and this is our April live stream. This is a time for you guys, the viewers, people that we've invited to come on and ask questions. We do have one topic we'll talk about today, and then we do have some questions that I received during the week, which I'll bring up and we'll look at today as well. So, as with everything, immigration has been changing. As everyone knows, April 1st has been one of those major changes. The USCIS has introduced new filing fees for various categories. The majority of the fees have increased, some by a lot, some by just a little, while we do have a few that were reduced. We'll talk about those a little bit today. We had one user call in mainly about credit card payment and the asylum fee. We'll touch base on that today. But before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about who we are. Ray Law International, we're an immigration boutique law firm with 3 offices in Michigan, Chicago, and New Jersey. We have been representing corporations both nationally and internationally for the past 20 plus years. Our goal is to make sure that we make your lives and jobs a lot easier, so that things go smoothly with HR and senior managers, so that your employees can focus on work and you guys can focus on other things. So that's a little bit about us. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. I'll put our company information there, so feel free to call us even now during the live stream, or you can always email us afterwards and we'll respond to you and get in touch with you. So first, want to start off with H-1B season has just finished. Feel free, anybody, if you have questions, to go ahead and post those in the chat. H-1 lottery the initial one has been completed. So a lot of employers are now ready to file their H-1B cap petitions within the 90-day window. For those who do not know, the H-1B cap period is from April 1st to June 30th. That means that if you were selected from the lottery, you have to file within that window. If you don't file within that window, or for example, if someone has not earned their degree by June 30th, then you're going to miss out on that opportunity and you'll have to be in the next lottery. This year, we also had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people apply for the H-1B cap registration. Unfortunately, the odds for those people getting selected is still very low. We hope that Congress will take action and either increase the numbers or come up with a better plan for people to get work visas, especially in the professional sector. Employers are really seeking those individuals, engineers, computer science, IT, mathematics, those in the STEM field to begin working. So, encourage your politician, your local representatives, state and federal, to take action on positive immigration reform, one that is more reflective of our current generation and our current market that we're living in. So one of the first questions that I wanted to get to was from a listener who posted this earlier this week, and it was a question about the asylum fee. Now, if you're not aware, anyone filing Form I-129 or Form I-130, if you're saying, well, Anthony, what are you talking about form numbers? I-129, that's the petition for a non-immigrant worker. That form is used for various categories such as H-1B, R visas, O visas, Ls, Es when you're filing in the United States, and multiple other visa categories under the I-129, TNs. So it's going to impact a lot of employers, pretty much all employers who need to file non-immigrant visas. So not only are fees increasing the base fee for the petition, but there's this added fee of $300 for employers who are 25 employees or less, or $600 for employers who have 26 or more employees. A lot of people say, well, is that full-time, part-time? Generally speaking, the USCIS and Department of Labor look at the full-time equivalent. So if you have everyone's part-time, but the full-time equivalent meets 26 individuals, then you have to pay the $600. Now, you really don't want to get into a debate. Your whole goal is to get the H-1B or TN or L approved and not, fight back and forth over $300. For some employers, $300 may be a lot. But for a majority of the employers who are filing this, you're already spending, $2,000 in filing fees. A $300 difference is not going to break the bank, so to speak. However, you do need to be careful about that because the USCIS is going to start looking at, you're going to have to provide proof of your employees. Whether that's through payroll or taxes or whatever it may be, you're going to need to prove that. Don't assume that you're going to get away with that and just say, hey, I've got 25 or less, no one's going to find out. The USCIS is, and is also, can and will issue a request for evidence to verify that you are an employer of that size. The USCIS may look at your website, look at the revenue size, whatever it may look at, and make a determination that there's probably more than 25 employees for those who want to try to skirt the system. So the first thing is asylum fee. This is not the asylum fee. Basically, USCIS is doing this to have the employers pay for all the asylees, not all of them, but to offset some of the expense associated with the asylum application. If you did not know, asylee applications or asylum applications, those are no charge. Also, those refugees who are applying abroad, there's no filing fee for those. Therefore, the government is somehow, all of a sudden, from April 1st, asking employers to fit or, to pay for some of that bill. Now, that's the non-immigrant side, the I-129. There is also the immigrant side. So employers petitioning for using the I-140, the majority of employers are going to need to submit this. Now, there are exceptions, so you can always reach out to us and we can, let you know what those exceptions are. However, the majority of employers are going to need to pay an additional $300 or $600, depending on the size of the employer, if they want to sponsor their employee for a green card, okay? Also, if you're self-petitioning, maybe your EB-2 national interest waiver, you make sure you include those fees. You don't want your case rejected, especially if it's time sensitive, if you have that situation. So one of the questions that came up over this past week was, basically, do I file Form 1450? If you don't know what 1450 is, I'm going to share my screen with you. And we're going to get to, Beth, we're going to get your question in just a moment. Bear with me. Let me, let's see. Hold on just a moment. 1450 here. So hopefully, let's add this to the screen. There we go. So you can see on the screen Form 1450, or excuse me, let's go down, it's G1450. This is the form where if you're paying by credit card, the USCIS wants you to complete this form. And the question was, do I fill out one or two of these? When you read the regulations, we need to have the asylum fee, the $300, separate from the other fees. Now, in the past, we would just lump all those together. Some firms used to split every filing fee up separately, but particularly in this case, the $300 or $600 asylum fee must be separate. So the question was, do I fill out two G1450s or do I just lump it all together? Of course, the USCIS has not been particularly clear on this yet, so we always take the conservative route. When we approach this situation, we're going to have two separate ones, one for the $300 and one for all other filing fees. Until we get clarification, this is sort of the problem with filing online, is the USCIS is notorious for not giving us clear direction in all the situations. So that's what we would recommend you do until we get further clarification. For that person who asked on LinkedIn, I'll go ahead and respond to you directly a little later today after the live stream. All right, so we are going to go to our first question from Beth. I'm going to put that on the screen. Thank you, Beth, for attending, and thank you for your question. The question here is, when is the next lottery? And the lottery here, not the jackpot, not the multi-million, but the H-1B lottery. When is the next H-1B cap lottery? Unfortunately, the main lottery for you to actually register for is not until next year, March. Okay. However, USCIS often will do another pick depending on how the numbers work out in August. So typically in August, we'll see if they don't have enough H-1B selected or more cases have been denied than expected, then they're going to pull a few additional ones from the big pool, okay, in August. So look for that in August if you're talking about the current H-1B cap lottery. Now, we've even had years where in the fall, October, November time, they still don't have enough to meet the 85,000 quota. And they'll pull another bunch of people before giving a final letter and saying that the H-1B lottery is ended. So if it's the current lottery that you're talking about, to put your name in the pot, it is passed. Okay, unfortunately. It was extended because of computer glitches. Okay. However, that window has been closed. If you're in that group and you weren't selected during the first wave of H-1B caps and you don't have a clear rejection letter saying that you were not selected, then hold tight, wait till August. I know that's not convenient. It doesn't make sense. However, this is the lottery. This is the style that we have right now. And then even if you're not selected at that time, yes, you're losing hope, but wait until the fall. Once in a while, they'll do additional pulls from October or November if they don't have enough approvals to meet the 85,000. If you don't know, it's 65,000 for the general H-1B category still here in 2024, and then an additional 20 for advanced degrees. There's so many people who already have an advanced degree, so there's not much advantage that you're getting, but always enter in. This year, the registration fee was still $10. Next year, it's likely that is going to increase significantly to a couple $100 at least. So look forward to that. So next year, March, reach out to us if you're interested in doing that. We usually start getting ready probably about January or February. We like to get all our employers registered, ready to go, get all the information, make sure the people are qualified, and make sure that we submit every year. And this year as well, computer glitches each year. And this is sort of the problem we have with the online filing and also the lottery is the USCIS's system is not robust enough to handle all the issues. It's not like federal court where things are updated frequently and things tend to run more smoothly. There's no perfect system. But under the USCIS system, it's a nightmare because we have hard deadlines. And if you don't make those deadlines, people will lose their opportunity and you're impacting people's livelihoods and futures here in the US. So next year, January, February, reach out to us. Information is on the screen and we'll get you ready for that. But yeah, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait. Now, if you're looking at alternatives, reach out to us. Some people who qualify for the H-1B may need to look at other options. And some employers, there may be a lot more other visa options depending on the size of the employer and the person's background. So Beth, thank you so much for your question. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to ask any other questions directly before or after. So again, guys, thank you guys for those who are watching. This is your time to ask questions. If you have questions, go ahead and type them into the chat, please. For those people who speak Spanish or Japanese, feel free to contact our office directly and we can address your questions directly or feel free to email us in the language of your choice. Okay. Other questions out there? Anybody? So earlier today, for those who recently joined us, we talked about the asylum fee, the 300, 600, or some employers don't have to pay anything at all, depending on who you are. We talked about that. Make sure you include those on your I-129s and I-140s. All right, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to see if there's any questions out there and additional questions. Beth had a great one. Any others? One of the other questions that was out there regarding the asylum fee um, is the asylum fee paid once, on the initial application with the employer, or is it paid each time you file? Right now, from our reading of the regulations and what has been presented, is that fee is needed each time. So until we get clarification, as soon as we get some clarification, we'll let you know. But our reading of the regulations and everything's just, it's required every time you file that I-129 or the immigrant petition I-140. All right, other questions? Other things that are going on for our firm, just to kind of fill you in, we're doing a lot of e-visas and getting people set up for that, both E1, E2s, and there is also the E3 for our Australians. And then, hello, Cinnamon Rolls. How you doing? If you guys have immigration questions, now's the time to ask those. If we don't, we'll probably stop a little bit early, but feel free to ask any questions, immigration questions that you have. We generally do employment-based, but if there's some family-based immigration questions out there, just let me know. So as I was mentioning, e-visas, we're doing quite a few of those. L visas, intercompany transferees, those are going smoothly. Yes, Simon, we've talked about asylum a little bit earlier. If you have questions about asylum, ask them now. This is your time to ask questions. That's why I'm here for you guys. Now, in addition to some of the questions you guys may have, our firm puts out a newsletter on various immigration topics. So if you're interested, feel free, to directly reach out to us on LinkedIn, or email the firm and ask to be added onto that. You can always also visit our website as well and be added to the email list. For those who want to expedite their green cards, or those expedite their green cards, on our website we have some exclusive videos geared specifically of how to improve that. So feel free to search our website, check out that the blog there, and then click on that to get access not just to additional information, but also to the video. We have certain videos that are selected just for those people who are looking to expedite, get their green card done faster. Okay. All right. So another question from Beth, e-visas, what are the e-visas? So e-visas is a special visa category where there is a visa E1, E2, or E3 that's based off of a treaty between the US and that country. So if you put in the chat or if you Google e-visa, you can just do e-visa category countries. You'll get a list of all the countries of those that have a treaty with the United States that specifically provides for the e-visa. Now, under the E1, E1 is your treaty trader, E2 is your treaty investor, and E3 is for Australian nationals and professionals. So the E1, some countries have both the E1 and E2. Other countries only have one or the other. So, just tell us what country you're looking for. We'll tell you whether there's an e-visa available. Some of the countries that would love to have the e-visa would it be China and India. They're one of the major users, but unfortunately, there is no e-visa category yet for those two countries. Okay. So feel free to let us know what country, Beth, the country is. And so, can you apply for one? You have to see if you meet the requirements. There's multiple requirements. There's basically you have to have the treaty, then you have to have either investment or trade, and then the person coming over has to be either an executive manager or an essential employee. And if you meet those requirements and certain ownership requirements with the U.S. and the foreign entity, then yes, you would be eligible for the E. It's a very complicated visa category, but it is great because there's no term limit. In most countries, you'll get a visa stamp for 5 years, and you can use it and continue to extend forever, indefinitely. So that's really good. Okay. All right. We're going to go to the next question because they're, adding on. Thank you guys for the questions. This is so awesome. So share about the EB1 national interest waiver. I think clarify what your question is. Typically, when we talk about NIW, the national interest waiver, we're talking about the EB2. EB1, we're talking about EB1A, EB1B, EB1C. EB1A is for extraordinary, ability in the arts, science, business, and athletics. EB1B is for outstanding professors or researchers, and EB1C is for the multinational managers or executives. So if we're talking about NIW, then for the NIW, basically this is a category where you don't need an employer, but it's a very high standard that you what you're doing and your background and what you're going to do in the U.S. is so important that you don't have to go through the regular green card or labor certification process. So the national interest waiver is that you're going to be a part or pursue an endeavor that is to the national interest. So think cancer research. Think we did one for an executive handling airbags in the automotive industry. Anything can really work, but the standard is high. Typically, you're looking for people who have a lot of experience, publications, patents, anything to bolster that person's credibility. What we find challenging are those who, they have a master's degree or a PhD, but they don't have any experience and they have maybe 1 or 2 articles. We really there's many categories. We don't have time to go over them all today, but feel free to talk about, we can talk about that under the EB1 national interest waiver. Okay. I'm going to jump. We have a few more questions, so we can always come back to the national interest waiver directly, maybe next time, maybe in May, or you can always reach out to us directly. Next question from Cinnamon Rolls. Do you have or know of many people seeking asylum away from the USA? Well, absolutely. When you say away from the US, there's 2 ways to look at this. First, those people who are at the border or in the US, those are what we call asylum seekers. Those who are outside the US, let's say in a country not at the border, those are refugees. And it's the same standard applies. You have to have a fear of returning to your home country. But the process is completely different and how we go about it. So you normally, if we're just going to talk about the people at the border, because if you're abroad and, you'll go through nonprofit organizations and the U.S. Embassy, whole separate process. You don't need an attorney, generally speaking. In the U.S., of course, it's a total different story. Or if you show up at the border, total different story. Hundreds of thousands of people apply each year. That's why there's a backlog, and the system just can't keep up with it. We don't have enough people to process it. It's just ridiculous. It really is. You see the news articles, but the problem, what is more ridiculous, is that our politicians are not working together to take realistic steps to solve or address the issue. I mean, we can complain whether you like immigration or not all day long. However, um, you know, it's really it really is it's a problem that Congress needs to solve. Our presidents can do executive orders all day long. That's not going to solve the problem. It's a band-aid, or not even a band-aid, but it's some action. We have DACA holders who have been in DACA status for over a decade. Nothing has been resolved. We've got millions of people that this issue needs to be addressed. So, can you apply for asylum? Absolutely. Generally speaking, you need to apply within 1 year after your entry in the US, and you have to have a realistic fear. Okay. And it has to be articulated. You have to have evidence of it, and there's many other requirements. The downside is for asylum, what a lot of people don't tell you is about 70% of them are unsuccessful for many reasons. Sometimes it's poor representation. Some people try to do it on their own. Some people don't understand the requirements. Some people just don't have the evidence. I mean, there's multiple reasons why the denial rate is very high. It's not just one thing. But there are 30% that do get it approved, and we do have those, which are great. We always, rejoice when we can get one of those approved. All right. So can people apply for asylum? Yes, they're foreign nationals who show at the border, or even if you come in legally, you can apply within 1 year. Um, let's see, there was a continuation. Yeah, there's many reasons. You really need to go over an analysis with an attorney to see whether you have a strong case or even meet the requirements for asylum. So, feel free to, reach out to us with a specific question on asylum, okay? Let's see, are there other questions out there? Let me see. Any other questions? Let me see. We got a few more. We're going to wrap up here real soon. Oh, one more for cinnamon roll and one from Fatuma has come in. Just a moment. Um, so this one's a little different. I think we have some videos that go over asylum. Feel free to check our YouTube channel and we talk about this. This is sort of a basic understanding of asylum. So generally speaking, a person shows up at the border or they enter lawfully and they apply for asylum. If you meet the requirements, then you are an asylee. After 1 year, you can apply for a green card. After 5 years, you can then apply for US citizenship, okay? So that's usually, if you talk about the process, that's usually how it goes. Okay, one more question and then we're going to call it for now, but feel free to email us or reach out to us or connect with us in LinkedIn. Just a moment. Just reading this one. This one's very specific. We usually don't get into cases that are specific, but priority date is October 2016. Documentary qualified on 2020. Case category F2B, which is a child of a green card holder over the age of 21 that is not married. The visa bulletin. And the question is when to expect it. There's many. If your priority date is current, you got to push your case. It's just to say when she expected. No one can say. You've got to look through the case. There may be other things that may cause for the delay. So on this one, Fatuma, when to expect the interview appointment letter? You got to you got to look and go through and check that everything was done. One question I have, is everything with the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi? So if you can answer that, let me know. Okay. And Cinnamon, while we wait for Fatuma to respond, um, Cinnamon Roll, U.S. citizens, if you're a U.S. citizen, you don't need to seek asylum in the U.S. You're already here. Okay? So don't worry about that. So, Fatima, when you say it's done, so if everything is with the U.S. Embassy and you're just waiting for an appointment, then you need to reach out to the U.S. Embassy and see what the backlog is. When you can expect that will depend on the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi, and literally, we bug them all the time. You just have to be diligent. That's what we do to get our clients their interviews and cases, and you just push through. So every 45 days, whatever the U.S. Embassy is telling you. If there's some other thing, maybe they're doing a security background check. You have to, figure if that's a delay. If there, there could be many things. So feel free to email us. I'm going to put up our email address just so you can email us, maybe set up a consultation and we can meet with you and talk with you to see if there's anything else you can provide us documentation for that. So let me pull this up just a moment. Okay. All right. So everyone, I'm just going to close up here. Thank you guys for joining us today for our live stream. We will have one in May again. Look for our newsletter if you want to get our newsletter ahead of time. Or if you just really want to, hey, I don't want to wait that long. You just want to get answers to your immigration questions now. Connect with us, the phone number, and our email is on the chat. Go ahead and reach out to us. For those corporate clients, HR, if you would like to, just to get to know us better, find out who Ray Law International is, we would love to invite you and meet with you and maybe just set up a remote Zoom lunch so that we can tell you a little bit about Ray Law International, what our capabilities are, and how we can help your organization grow and meet its immigration needs. Also, even if you already have immigration counsel, it's always good to have two to compare to make sure that you're getting the best representation and the quality of service that you guys deserve. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for all the questions that you have. If you did not ask a question or did not get your question answered, reach out to us. We love to hear from you. We love to answer and get you guys on the right immigration track. Check out our videos on YouTube in several languages. And everyone, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, good rest of your week. Thank you and take care. Bye for now.